This particular video is going to be about mindset. So we're just going to focus on mindset today. I'm your host, Chris Johnson, and this is Jumpstart IT Academy. And at Jumpstart IT Academy, we have courses, books, and also we do coaching. And we offer these services and products to launch new or existing professional to transition into the tech industry. At Jumpstart IT Academy, we make it our goal to empower other people to maximize their potential in the field of technology. And we teach them how to plan their careers so that they can thrive and not just survive. Let's get into this video. How to succeed at anything and everything. Now, this particular video stems or is inspired by Carol S. Dweck, or Dr. Carol Dweck. She's, I believe, a psychologist, and she wrote this book called Mindset. And in this book, I found it very interesting because it helped me understand how to succeed purposefully, not just working towards something, but specifically working towards something with a purpose and shifting and adjusting and being able to approach it with confidence, even when I was met with failure or setback or something like that. So I want you to look at this slide here so you can clearly see about success. Okay. Now, most people, when they think about success, they imagine that success is just one straight path towards a destination, which would be purpose, and it requires vision to do such a thing in terms of succeeding. Now, success really doesn't work like that. What I like to tell people in terms of success, so they can understand it in a nutshell, if you will, is that success is this. Here's the saying that this billionaire told me. She said, great things, Chris, are built ugly. And that's pretty much success. She told me this when I was a teenager. And I took what she had said and I realized that as I was developing into the tech industry and just forming my tech career, I noticed that it was really messy. Sometimes there was opportunities, sometimes there wasn't, and sometimes I would get projects I wanted and sometimes I wouldn't. Sometimes I would get jobs I wanted, sometimes I wouldn't. Sometimes I would fail an exam and sometimes I would succeed and get a certification and pass the exam. And pretty much that's really what success was like for me. And essentially, I ended up in a situation where I had that breakthrough and I was able to get that large amount of notoriety, attention, and accolades that would solidify me in the tech industry. So as I said, today we're going to focus on mindset. We're going to look at these 3 discussion points. The power of mindset, which is number 1. Number 2, fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. And then number 3, how can I develop a growth mindset? And I'm asking this more in the position of you as the viewer watching this video. Let's go to the next slide. The power of mindset. The power of mindset is incredible. If you think about it on the surface, most people view mindset of motivational quotes or something that makes you feel good when you feel like you're down and you need a big push to get you going so that you're excited about your day. You know, sort of like brain coffee, something positive that somebody says. But rather, mindset is not, or having a great or good mindset isn't about a motivational quote. Now, a motivational quote may give someone that motivation, but a mindset is an undertaking where you're actually geared to deal with and adapt to changes as you are on your path to success. Because a motivational quote may encourage you or it may cause you to explore internally about where you're going and what you're doing and how to think deeper or chart a better course to get to your destination. But the power of the mindset is really encapsulated in an understanding of what will I do when I trip, when I fall, when I go into a pothole or fall into a ditch. Now, a motivational quote really isn't going to help you out in that situation if you get caught up in a ditch. And I'm talking about like some extreme level of disappointment or discouragement or failure. And that's what a mindset does. It gives you the tools you need to dig yourself out of a big hole. Not just a quote, but just a mindset, a shift, something that gives you the grit, gives you the energy and ability to say to yourself, when you are at your lowest point, I will succeed. I will not give up. And you know why you're not going to do it. And that's what I want you to leave after you watch this video, knowing that you've been equipped with the tools to mentally change your situation or perception or perspective of how you view yourself and how you view your goal and how you view the tools that you need to repair errors or make corrections or have the right way of looking at things so the discouragement doesn't blur or failure doesn't cause you to experience so much fog that you feel like quitting, or you start talking to yourself negatively, or you change your goals, which could be realistic for you, but you lower them because the setback made you feel like I can't achieve. And that's what I want you to leave with. I want you to leave with the ability and the confidence knowing that you can change your mindset so that you can succeed in any circumstance. So let's look at this. Point number 2, fixed versus a growth mindset. In its simplicity, a fixed mindset is a static mindset, meaning someone who has a fixed mindset is someone who says, I'm not moving from this position. Someone who has a growth mindset says, I'm going to adjust from this position because I can develop myself. Meaning, let's say you were driving down the road and your car broke down. The person with and I'm going to use, just an extreme example just so you can get it. The person with the fixed mindset just literally just leaves the car there and said, there's no hope in this vehicle, and just walks away or finds an alternative method to achieve getting to their destination. A growth mindset person is more developmental, meaning the growth mindset person is going to say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to get to my destination on time. I'm not going to get to my destination in the comfort of my vehicle as I expected. I'm going to have some form of delay. I'm going to have to develop a sub plan because this wasn't expected, or it was expected, but I didn't know it would be like this. And then that person typically will adjust, get the vehicle fixed, and then start back on the road again to get to their destination. Let's look at point number 3, because at this point, you should start thinking to yourself, how can I personalize this for myself? And that's a good thought, because that's where I want you to be. I want you to start thinking about yourself and start moving these thoughts and these ideas that I've given you and start, letting them swim in your imagination and your thought patterns. How can I develop a growth mindset? Well, for one, continue watching this video. And for 2, I want you to just start reflecting on yourself. If you were in that car and the car stopped, let's have that car be a problem. Let's have that car be a failure. Let's have that car that stopped on the side of the road be some disappointing news you received in any area of your life. Are you going to adjust, or do you have this thought that everything I see before me is all that there is? If you have that thought, that's a fixed mindset. A growth mindset would start exploring alternatives or start seeing other methods or means in which they could repair the situation or fill the gap to ensure that the goal that they had in mind is still achievable. So let's go to the summary here. So a fixed mindset is basically focused on thinking that intelligence is fixed at birth. These are people who don't believe that they can achieve a large amount of success because they feel that they have not been given a gift to get to where they want to go talent wise. That is a fixed mindset person. And that person, when they see success, they normally externalize it. They say that's for them and this is my situation. And they start thinking of limitations that cause them not to get to where they're going or cause them not to acquire what it is that they have in their mind that they want, but they don't think or believe they could achieve. And so they stay in a static position and they won't move because they weren't born with the skills or the talent to get to where they see other people. A growth mindset person has the view that intelligence and talent can go up or down, meaning that talent is something that can be developed. Intelligence is something that can be developed. So therefore, a growth mindset person will say, I never lose, I always learn. And I want you to get in that type of mindset. Now, that is somewhat of a motivational quote, but look at the power of it. When you start looking, if you apply that in a real situation with real failure or real setback, and you really do apply it, meaning that you don't just say it to yourself. It's not just a motivational quote. It's an actionable quote. It's a call to action, meaning that I have experienced some failure. What are some things that I've done in this situation or other people have done to contribute to the failure, and how can I fix it? How can I improve? How can I change my situation for the better to get this back on track? Summary number 2. So take a look at this slide right here. I'm going to walk you through this right here. So a fixed mindset person, and then we're looking at skills. A fixed mindset person says, this is something that you're born with. This right here should say a growth mindset, but it says fixed mindset. So bear with me just for this video. So a growth mindset person will say, these skills come from hard work. So you got to think to yourself, where are you at? What kind of person are you going to be, or what kind of person are you? Now, the fixed mindset person is fixed. The growth mindset person, they say to themselves, I can always improve. The fixed mindset person, in terms of experiencing challenges, they say this is something you avoid. You don't want to be near a challenge because it could be challenging. But a growth mindset person would say challenges are to be embraced. A fixed mindset person would say a challenge could reveal that I lack a certain skill. But a growth mindset person would say this is an opportunity to grow. In other words, they look at a growth mindset person looks at a challenge as an opportunity for them to expand, for them to change for the better, so that they can accomplish something and achieve something that they may have never achieved, or experience something that they have not experienced before. Now, a fixed mindset person, in terms of challenges, they tend to give up very easily. But yet a growth mindset person, they're more persistent. They look at it as, well, it's just my first time. Let me do this 20 more times. Whereas a fixed mindset person, they may experience something and they don't succeed. And so they say, well, this isn't for me. I really wasn't born with the ability to do X, Y, or Z. Like, for example, for myself, I really wasn't that good in math. In fact, people tell me, like, how in the world were you able to achieve such high success as an engineer when your math skills really weren't up to par? Well, I was speaking to a mathematician, and the mathematician told me this. The mathematician told me, you know what, Chris, in your situation, because I asked her, I said, why in the world was I able to achieve such high success in a field that requires strong, rigorous mathematical abilities? And she told me, math involves logic. There's a certain logic that mathematicians want their students to get from math. And in that regard, she told me that you have that logic, but you weren't good at doing the math work. So I wasn't really good at doing the math work, even though I eventually had to get my math situation better. I had developed into a better practitioner of math. But nonetheless, throughout my career, she told me that you had already acquired the logic behind the math, which is the intention for what mathematicians are teaching their students, because students really don't remember all the mathematical problems that they've done, but what the teacher wants is that they keep with them the logic behind the mathematical problem. So there's a purpose in the math problem that they're supposed to be learning, and the purpose is logic. And so apparently I had that. And that was a real challenge for me, but nonetheless, I just was very persistent. Now, let's look at effort. Fixed mindset person looks at effort and says, that's unnecessary. I'm really not good at it, so I'm not going to give it my all. But in terms of effort, a person with a growth mindset is going to tell themselves, this is essential. I must bring my best effort. Even though they may not be good, quote unquote, at it, they still have a sense of wanting to produce excellence in everything that they do. And that's what I really encourage people to do. No matter what you're taking on, bring your best self to it, whether it's a conversation with a relative, whether it's a conversation with a coworker, whether it's a challenging project, bring your best effort. Now, in terms of effort, again, the fixed mindset person is going to say, this is something you do when you're not good enough. When you're not good enough in terms of effort, I might not give it my all because I'm not good enough. And that's not the perspective that you want. You want to tell yourself, I may not be good enough, but I'm going to take a path towards mastery. Eventually, I'm going to learn this and I'm going to be proficient at it, because I met many people who started off right where I am and they were able to master it. And that's what the growth mindset person thinks in terms of effort. Now, in terms of feedback, a fixed mindset person doesn't want to really receive instruction, knowledge, or correction. They really get on the defense. What I like to do is I describe it as this. When you see someone with a fixed mindset and they're becoming very defensive, essentially what they're doing is they're masking ignorance with arrogance, or they're masking insecurity with this bravado of security, as if I've got this all covered. Stop talking to me about this. And that's essentially a mask that they're wearing because they don't want to expand from where they're at. Because honestly, it's not that they're intentionally being arrogant or just sitting in their ignorance. They really don't believe that they can change their position. And that's why you want to get out of that mindset and move towards a growth mindset. So in terms of feedback, a growth mindset person thinks to themselves, wow, I really appreciate you explaining this to me and correcting my errors, because now I can change and then I could apply this better. I can be better at this, because they consider knowledge, instruction, and correction, or feedback, they consider it very useful and constructive. A fixed mindset person, on the other hand, will consider feedback non-constructive. So again, in terms of feedback, a fixed mindset person, they'll take it personal. When you correct a fixed mindset person, they personalize it. In other words, I like to put it like this. Great people talk about ideas. Common people talk about people. And that's even when someone is dealing with information or feedback or correction towards themselves. They will focus on themselves as the person, instead of focusing on the idea of what was this person relaying to me and how is this person seeking to improve my current condition, to move me to a better situation, or to improve my knowledge on a subject so I can develop my talents and skills. Fixed mindset people don't see it that way. So a growth mindset person, they look at it as, this is something that I can learn from. In other words, as I said before, a growth mindset person is going to say to themselves, I don't lose, I learn, because they're always learning when they lose. Therefore, they position themselves to win. Again, in terms of feedback, the growth mindset person will identify areas to improve. This is the type of person that sees their weaknesses and strengthens their weaknesses. Whereas a fixed mindset person tends to focus on their strength because they believe that that's how strong people become strong. That's not necessarily the truth. I know it sounds backwards, but strong people become strong because they strengthen their weaknesses. They already know they're good at their strengths. And that's important to know. So let's look at fixed mindset based on setbacks. When a fixed mindset person experiences a setback, they tend to blame others. They tend to point fingers instead of getting into the mindset of a leader and telling themselves, this is an opportunity. This is a problem. I'm here to solve problems. And then they start thinking about solving the problem. They just start to think about who caused the problem so we can pinpoint some of their weaknesses and pinpoint some of the areas where they went what they would call wrong. Whereas I don't think that's a constructive way to go about it. I think the fixed mindset really limits a person in terms of their growth in taking on projects, learning new skills, developing talents, and also in interacting with other people. They tend to be people who have poor communication, have low social skills, and don't really work well in teams because they have trouble just being at peace with themselves. So the growth mindset person, in terms of setbacks, the growth mindset person, they will use it as a wake-up call. They'll say, wow, I had no idea that I was so insufficient in this area. I remember getting my certification tests back from like Cisco. And even if I passed the exam, Cisco at that time, I don't know if they still do, but they would break down the areas where you were strong and the areas where you were weak. So if you didn't pass the exam, you can focus on those weak areas and do more labs or read more books or just get a better understanding of the concept or the finer details to strengthen those weaknesses so that you can take the exam the next time and you can be more confident that you're going to pass the exam. So a fixed mindset person in terms of setbacks, they get discouraged. And now, I don't want you to think, well, you should never get discouraged. So if I get discouraged, then I must be a fixed mindset person. No, there's certain times where you get discouraged. I would more point out the time period where they stay in this sulking period of disappointment or discouragement. It's the period of time that they stay in the discouragement. Whereas a growth mindset person, they may feel discouragement, but they're going to tell themselves, I'm going to work harder next time. When I'm presented with a challenge like this, I'm going to put more effort and I'm going to develop my skills and I'm going to receive a knowledge, instruction, or correction from my teachers or my mentors or my coaches so that I can overcome these setbacks when they do present themselves to me. Next slide. I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed. And this is a quote by the famous basketball player, Michael Jordan. Now, I hope you can see in this quote, it really captures everything we've been talking about here. So if you feel like some of this knowledge or information has kind of fallen through the cracks, you can watch the video over again. But if not, you can really get an understanding. What I'm telling you is what I've learned is that you need to fail early, fail fast, and fail forward. In other words, always keep going forward and always learn, even when you lose, even when you win, just always learn. Because once you condition yourself, just like muscle memory in athletes, in terms of success, once you've conditioned yourself to be determined in how you're going to approach challenges, how you're going to approach difficulty and bring your best self to it, and also believe that my talents and my skills and my gifts can be developed. I am not my failure. I am simply strengthening my weaknesses that have caused my failure. And you don't personalize the challenge, but you take it on as I'm going to get better and I'm going to overcome. Then you are going to move from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Or if you have a growth mindset already, you're just simply going to become stronger and more purposeful in using a growth mindset. And so I wanted to drop this video on you. I hope this really strengthens you as a professional and really gives you the insight and gives you more courage and empowers you and equips you so that you have more tools in your toolbox so that you can succeed, because that's very important to me. Your success is very important to me. I want you to succeed. I would imagine more than you want yourself to succeed. So if you're listening to this video, don't forget to, you can click subscribe, leave a comment. I'd like to know what you think. If you learned something from this or you have something to add to the discussion, I'd love to hear what you had to say. Again, I'm your host, Chris Johnson, and this video is delivered by Jumpstart IT Academy. And we're here for you if you need some help. We provide courses. We also provide coaching, and we provide books as well that help you succeed on your technology journey in your tech career. Talk to you soon.